Okay, we'll just do a little bit of review to get us all on the same page there. We're in the very last, we're getting to the very last. Jesus returns in chapter 19, and today we're going to look at 17. And looking at our bowls here, 16, chapter 16, it went through all the bowls as a summary. 17 is going to fill in the details. You know how at mid-trib, we had those simultaneous things happening, and that's what 17 is going to be. It's like John looked back and said, oh yeah, I want to tell you about this. And so it's kind of hard to put it all in perspective, but I think we'll do just fine with it. So we're on chapter 17. Chapter 17 and 18 are about the destruction of Babylon. 17 is where God takes care of the spiritual Babylon. 18 will be the actual physical, the earthquake and everything that happens. That's over in 18 that he does that. But let's see. I have to do my own graphics today. Okay, I know last week we went through this and, we think, well, why Babylon? Well, Babylon has a very important message, I guess that you would say. Babylon today is a ruin. There's no Babylon. Now there's another city, Hillel, in Iraq. It's about 3 miles from where the ruins were. But Babylon during the tribulation will be rebuilt because it has a lot of prophecy in the Old Testament that's going to be fulfilled there. So it will be rebuilt. And the reason of Babylon, why this is going to take place, why God is going to do the punishment there, it's the original home of sin. We know that. That's where the Garden of Eden was, in that valley there. And the first sin, Satan went there. The other, let's see, it was the origin of idolatry. Remember we studied about Nimrod building that tower. The tower was built to worship other gods. And that's where worshiping of the stars and horoscopes and all that. They were making up their own because Nimrod was over it all at that time. And God had told the people to go out, to move out. And they didn't do that. So, and then they wanted to do their own God. They wanted to be God. So that's when he confused their language and scattered them. And when they scattered, all those spirits went with them, demonic spirits. And, it's all over the world now. Okay, the next one is, this was the city of Babylon, and it was when Nebuchadnezzar was the king. It was the first kingdom to conquer Israel and slaughtered lots and lots and lots of people. And like we said before, there's not a drop of blood that's lost that God doesn't take note of it. And all through the Old Testament, he's telling Babylon, your day's coming. Your day's coming. And the next one, we know it's Antichrist headquarters. It's where the government, this worldwide government during tribulation will be centered. We know that because remember when the Euphrates dries up, they come from the east over to Jerusalem. And let's see. Oh, this next one is a symbol of all false religions. After the rapture, there'll be a lot of churches just keep going on. Everybody goes in, sits in their own pews. They don't know. It's just going to continue on. Churches that, remember we talked about the 7 churches at the beginning of Revelation, and how God judged them for what they were. Well, those 7 churches are still around. And there's a lot of liberal churches that have gotten so far away from what God had for us, for what Christianity was. And I don't know if you ever heard of Vance Havner. Anyway, he's an old-time preacher, but he's very quotable, and today they still quote him. But this is one of the things he said. Satan is not fighting churches. He's joining them.
That's right.
And he does more by sowing tares than by pulling up wheat. He accomplishes more by imitation than by outright opposition. He's had the same plan all along. What did he do? You know, right off the bat, he's going to Nimrod. Don't worship. He did, you know, of course started with the Eve, where the sin started, but it just seeps through all. So, we need to understand fundamentally that, and I know we all do, there's the true and there's the false. If you have a little bit of false, what makes that? What is that? That's a lie.
That's right.
It's a lie. And Jude, I want to look at this first. This false religion that we're going to be talking about in chapter 17. Do you have any idea how many religions there are in the world?
Oh.
Take a guess.
72.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, just.
Go higher. Go higher.
More than 9. 200,
3,000.
200, 3,000.
Between 4,000 and 200 to 10,000.
Oh my. Wow.
Every little, you know, if I don't like this, I'll start another church. And but, you know,
Yeah.
but not only just churches, but all religions. That shocked me. I would have said exactly probably 200 or,
Yeah.
you know, trying to think, well, I only know 5.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
4,200 to 10,000 is supposed to be whoever you ask. Isn't that amazing? And this is kind of the way that, now this is 2010, so obviously it's behind times by 15 years. But Christianity has the largest group at that point, and then next was Islam, the Muslims, and you can see each one. I thought this was interesting. See where Jews are? Hardly, right? That little sliver,
Zero point 2.
that little sliver there.
Nothing.
Yeah, thought that was interesting. So,
So,
you know, as we look around today, now how could there's only one, but look at all the different things that has come in. So we know Satan is very busy. And have you, I want to look at Jude now. Jude 1, and I think I got it. Oh, let's go to the next one. I want to listen to what Jude has to say. Jude is the, you know, next to last book in the Bible, one chapter, just a little bitty thing. But this is what he says in 3 and 4. Dear friends, although I was very eager to write to you about the salvation we share, I felt compelled to write and urge you to contend for the faith that was once for all entrusted to God's holy people. For certain individuals, I have to go to the next one, whose condemnation was written about long ago, has secretly slipped in among you. They are ungodly people who pervert the grace of our God into a license for immorality and deny Jesus Christ, our sovereign, our only sovereign and Lord. Jude was way back, you know, in the New Testament times. But Satan, he's always busy. sneaking in where he can. And Jude tells us to contend for the faith. That word contend means fight. Not physically, but be on your guard. Watch that it doesn't come in. It's not changing. It's not progressing. Jude says it was delivered once to all. It must be kept pure, not added to or taken away. The word does not change. Only opinions of man changes. As we look around today, we can see that the world is set for this mystery Babylon. And that's what it's called in chapter 17, Mystery Babylon. It's all false religions. You ever seen that bumper sticker that says, coexist, all get along, all paths lead to God? That sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, sure. That sounds really good. So we know that Satan is already infiltrating the church. And I don't know how bad it'll get before tribulation starts and we're taken out of it. But he's certainly busy right now doing his work. You know, I was thinking about that, and to all coexist, you can't have your doctrines. You have to let them all slide, you know. Let's all get together and sing, "We are the world, kumbaya," you know. Even, you know, and I know we all know this too, but this is just to put us on our guard, just, you know, sharpen up a little bit. Watch for it. Used to, this is 40 years ago, maybe more, I don't know how old, Oprah, you know. Everybody watched Oprah back then. She was a Christian and grew up with her, you know. But boy, oh boy, it's not what she's saying today. She says she's a Christian, but many paths lead to God. Not just Jesus. Many paths lead to God. She's always promoting these New Age books or stuff like that, you know. And if you don't know, Millie, it was Ava. Where's she at? Okay. Anyway, Ava and I were talking about, if you don't know the truth, you will believe the lie. And so it's really important that we know the truth. Because when this world religion, when it all gets together, the Bible will be banished. You will not have the scriptures. So read your Bible. Get it in your heart. Get it here. That even if they take it away, you know what it says. Because it can't coexist because there's only one. And they're not going to have that. So they're getting rid of that. This is called progressive Christianity. And one of the things, too, that makes it... now they're teaching in colleges and everything that there's no absolute truth. You know, if you believe there is absolute truth, then you're a bigot and you're narrow-minded. And, you know, it's so, I know we can all feel the pressure that's coming in on us, you know. Don't say anything in a restaurant, you know, somebody might take, you know, and it's just nerve-wracking. And so we see that influence that's coming in. The kings of the earth are pushing this false religion to establish their power, and this will be more. Let's see. Yeah. Paul says this in 2 Corinthians. Well, I don't have it there. Can somebody find 2 Corinthians 4:3 and read it? What do I do with it? I can't find it. 2 Corinthians 4:3.
You got it?
Got it? Would you read it, please?
And even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing.
Go ahead with 4, please. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you.
The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God.
That would explain a lot of what's going on today, isn't it? Because you think, how can anybody with half a brain believe some of this stuff? Well, this is all part of what is happening.
Yeah.
This is all part of God's had enough. You know? Okay, let's start with, let's see where I want to go here. Let's go ahead and, am I in the right one? No. Where am I here? All right. Okay, I got off on the wrong page there. Let's go ahead to chapter 17, Revelation 17. And we'll read that whenever Shelley gets ready.
The whole thing?
Yes, please.
One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute, who sits on many waters. With her kings of the earth, with her the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a desert. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. This title was written on her forehead: Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth. I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus. When I saw her, I was greatly astonished. Then the angel said to me, "Why are you astonished? I will explain to you the mystery of the woman and of the beast she rides, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and will come up out of the abyss and go to his destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because he once was, now is not, and yet will come. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. They are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain for a while. The beast who once was and now is not is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to his destruction. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose and will give their power and authority to the beast. They will make war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will overcome them because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And with him will be his called, chosen, and faithful followers. Then the angel said to me, "The waters you saw where the prostitute sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and languages. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute. They will bring her to ruin and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to accomplish his purpose by agreeing to give the beast their power to rule until God's words are fulfilled. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth." I did not understand any of that.
Hey, all right. Well, okay,
The one
hopefully.
who is, but it's not yet.
God is there talking about. Well, this is, remember, the last bowl judgment. And it's like dominoes.
Yeah.
You push one over,
Oh.
They're all going over. And that's kind of what this is doing to us. John is getting the details how this is working out in the end. You know, remember I said at the beginning, 16 gives us all the bowls and 17 is going to give us the details of what all was happening. Okay, verse 1 says, she is a great prostitute. Some of your Bibles may say harlots, whatever. But great because she encompasses the whole world. And we're going to look at that a little bit more and understand that. And at the time that John is talking about is when they've all come under this one umbrella. All religions have come under the one rebellion. All the Christian churches that were left full of unbelievers. Judaism, the legal Judaism, Eastern mysticism. At one point, they're all going to come together. We are the world. Kumbaya. And God says that he's showing John the punishment that's going to be. Because God will judge false religion. And it says she's sitting on many waters. Now when we get down to 15, it tells us that those waters are nations, countries, you know, everywhere, encompassing everything. She's dominating the whole earth. The world at that point will be under the deception of false religion. This is that Babylonian spirit of deception. Remember when I said last week when we're talking about Babylon, sometimes it means the city, sometimes it means a religion, sometimes it means the whole area of Mesopotamia. So this is that spirit that 17 is dealing with. And it says, the kings, in verse 2, the kings of the earth committed adultery with her. Okay, now we know we are in signs in Revelation. So this prostitute is not, it's the false religion. You know. And all these kings, all these people that are head of governments and everything, you know, they're committing adultery with her. And you know, I was thinking about that and I thought, you know, that is a perfect example. Because a prostitute is an illegal wife. It gives the illusion of marriage without the substance, without the sacredity of it. It's a picture of idolatry. It's a false religious relationship. So that's what John is comparing it to. And her partner in the adultery is the kings of the earth.
So you're saying these kings committed adultery with this prostitute. That you are saying they have accepted this false religion. They are promoting.
Yes, and it gets more so.
Okay.
It gets more so.
Yeah.
And what is happening here, Satan again is counterfeiting the relationship between Christ and his bride, the church. You know, we're to keep it holy. It's going to be sacred to us. He's always doing that. Not only is she a prostitute, but she is the mother of all prostitutes. And that goes back to what we learned earlier about Babylon, the origin of the idolatry that started this false religion. So she's the mother of it. So John's taking us back there. Okay, you know what? I know what happened. I'm going to have to go back and forth on this. I put my papers in the wrong way. So I'll have to go back with it. So anyway, okay. In verse 3, we see the prostitute sitting on a scarlet beast. And if you look at that, it was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, we already studied that, so we know who this is. This is the Antichrist. Remember the beast that came out of the sea? This is the Antichrist. And We're told later on too that makes that clear. But something else, and one reason why that's confusing is John also uses this same analogy when he gets further in it. He talks about 7 kings. And so a lot of times people have got confused over that. I mean, I was confused over it. You might be after I get finished, you might be confused over it, but I'm hoping not. To see that he uses that same analogy. It's not always talking about the beast. Sometimes it's talking about a city, where we'll get down to that in a little bit. We are told in verse 9, the 7 heads of the beast. Oh, I don't want to go there yet. Okay. So the 7 heads and 10 horns, we're talking about now the political system. And she's aligning with it, the false religion. You know, we got the false prophet. And so she's aligning with this economical and political system. And then verse 4, I thought this was good too. She has great wealth. And, you know, some religious institutions have tremendous wealth. And when they're all put together, it's going to be massive. And, you know, whoever has the money, right?
Yeah.
Who rules the world. But when we went to Rome and went to the Vatican, well, I mean, even the thread in some places was gold. What? Massive wealth, massive wealth. And then, and this is what we're talking about, a false religion. Not just that, but all of them that come together under this. There'll be massive wealth. And she has a name written on her forehead in verse 5. I thought that was it. She had a name written on her forehead, and I thought, like, you know, what the heck's that mean? Well, I looked it up. It was a custom in that age that prostitutes would have their name tattooed on their forehead, or a band that had their name, or one they made up, like, you know, I'm Jezebel, or whatever. And I assume that this is for repeat customers.
Oh,
I just,
my.
you know, have that name written on there. And so John is still using this imagery that it is. Okay, and in 6, verse 6, John, it says John was astonished at the wealth. When he, you know, he's looking at this false religion and whatever, however it's going to be, and he's astonished at it. Because John, his church was, you know, he didn't have 2 denarii to rub together. They were poor. They were persecuted. They were hiding out, trying to not, you know. And so when he sees that, he's blown away by it. And it says that she was drunk with the blood of God's holy people, the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus. You know, I said earlier, not one drop of blood hits the ground, that God doesn't know about it. But I think we can, in our minds, realize that there's a lot of people that don't like us. You know, they don't like us. And we didn't join that church with them. We won't take the mark. We won't do all of that, you know. And so when they come in power, they're in power.
Yeah.
You know. And there's that saying, what is it? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We've seen that over and over. Something starts out real good, you know, going along, and then they get, look at, you know, have a look far, look at Congress. I mean, how in the world did they become millionaires on that, you know? So there is that corruption. And then in verse 7, the angel explains the beast, and in verse 8, identifies the Antichrist. And we know this is because how the wording is in verse 8 there. Let's see if we can get that up there. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, or will come back. Remember the Antichrist was killed, and then he come back, and the world was astonished at that. My goodness, he must be the Savior. You know, so they were astonished at it. In verse 9, let's look at verse 9 there. First of all, it says, this calls for a mind with wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is knowing God's word. Any other wisdom, it'd be here for a while. But knowing God's word. And John kind of assumes that you do know it, that you know the Old Testament and you know the New Testament. Yeah. And when we get to chapter 18, we will read a lot of the Old Testament, because in 18, when that Babylon is completely destroyed, there's a lot of things, and 18 is just kind of a summary. Yeah, we're going to do the earthquake, and it's going to be destroyed. But there's a lot that God said previously that was going to happen to Babylon, gave prophecy. And at the end of this chapter, it says, God will let them, the beast and them, kind of reign until all of his prophecies are fulfilled. So we've got to go back. And if you don't know that, and I didn't know much of it either, but it certainly is confusing. Number 9, verse 9, with that mind for wisdom. Then it says this, the 7 heads are 7 hills. Some versions say mountains, on which the woman sits. What city sits on 7 hills?
Jerusalem.
Everybody know? Rome. Rome sits on 7 hills. So in scriptures, it's pretty much a given that this is what it's talking about, Rome. And John tells us to have wisdom. Now, he doesn't mention the city because, remember, John is in prison. Rome has put him in prison. He's sitting in a cave on an island somewhere. And so he's been careful. He doesn't say outright that it's Rome. But it's made clear through it that this is. Remember, and when we get back over to it, we'll talk about it. Yeah. And now a lot of people that I looked at, a lot of scholars and all that, they all say this is speaking of the Roman Catholic Church as being the false religion. Well, there's going to be a lot of false. It's not just going to be them. There's going to be out of everywhere, the mysticism, the I don't know, a lot of Protestant churches. And so I think it is talking about that it will come out of there. For one thing, the last kingdom during the tribulation will be, Rome will be established again, and it will be a powerful city. 10 Western nations, at the beginning of tribulation when they all come together. And out of that will come the Antichrist. And so, but anyway, I just want to know, I don't say, well, it's them people. It's going to be a lot of peoples. It's your relationship with Jesus Christ that counts. Okay? Because these are all going to come together into what John calls Mystery Babylon. It's a federation of false religions. Okay, now I gotta go find that other place. Where'd that 10 go? Oh, here it is. Okay, and we're gonna look at this. Oh, I found this online. This is some artist, of her riding the beast, but, it's just being literal, and it's not literal, it's just a sign of it. There's that 2 Corinthians I wanted, didn't it? There it was. See, I got my things messed up, and I got my papers messed up. And there's the 7 hills of Rome. Personally, I think there was 100 hills of Rome. And I walked all of them up. But this is, and this is going back to, in verse 10, he talks about the 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and 1 is to come. Well, the 5 that have fallen, well, actually all 6 is now history. But in Daniel we had, let's see, yeah. The head, Daniel tells about all these different, and each one of these kingdoms there opposed Israel. There was a lot of in between there. There's different kings and different things that came up. But these were all that opposed to Israel. Now they are fallen. And when I went back, wow, just like everything, Revelation is people just trying to figure out what it says. So that one scholar would say, well, it really started in Egypt, and then there was Assyria, and then there was Babylon, but there's all history anyway. There's one that's coming, and it will be the revived Roman Empire. It will have those 10 horns that was there. That's those 10 Western kingdoms. I even saw a list of who they are. Mostly European nations, because it's the revived Roman Empire. And then verse 11, talking of the Antichrist, who will be the 8th one. Because when this revived Rome is the 7th kingdom, and that's just the 10 kings all getting together, and remember, out of that comes the Antichrist, and he will be the 8th, and he will be the last until Jesus Christ comes. So basically you have 2 powers getting down to this stage. You have Babylon and Jerusalem when we all get down to it. God is narrowing the world down to, and we're going to get to that battle of Armageddon. Okay? No, I can't wait to get into Act 18. And like the angel said, the Lamb wins. I guess he up there, as that, 14 I think it is. It's a flash forward at the second coming. And this is going to happen in chapter 19. But I guess the angel probably looked at John, and said he was astonished, and he's probably like, oh my goodness, all these people coming. But the angel said, we win. So I kind of like that, and as we're reading it too, it helps to remind us, that it's going to be that way. Okay, verse 15 was just self-explanatory, talking about who were these waters that she was sitting on. Well, this was even back earlier. She gets on the beast. She's now riding the beast. And what that means, going back to the marriage, they are now united. Adultery is what they are. The false religion and the political powers and the economic powers, and I say economic powers because one reason they're so rich, they're the only ones that can buy and sell because they've got that mark. So they become wealthy. Oh, so wealthy. And John goes back to the story then in 16 and 18 and tells about, this is just the way it is, and That she's riding the beast. But we know at the end, the Antichrist kills off all false religion. It's only him now. Remember? That he's the only one. So that's where we're at there. And then the beast destroys the prostitute, John says. And verse 17 is interesting. Let's see if I have that. Oh, ha! I do have that one. Got in the right place. For God has put into their hearts to accomplish, to have a common purpose, and by giving their kingdom to the beast until the words of God will be fulfilled. And that's talking about the words and the prophecy in the Old Testament. And next week we're going to look at a lot of that. We'll look at the Old Testament prophets, a lot of them. Ezekiel, Isaiah, that's sprinkled all throughout. And Daniel, of course. And these things God's saying, until my words are fulfilled. And he's talking about over there at the Old Testament, the church is gone. He's talking about he is going to fulfill what he said. These things are going to happen. He'll let the beast reign for a little while. He's doing that chess piece, you know. It's getting smaller and smaller. Next week. Checkmate. You're dismissed. Hey, yeah.